to the 3-day international virtual workshop on research methodology and research writing, jointly organized by Lavender Literary Club India, Cap Common Trust, and Malaysian Industrial Relations and Human Resource Association, Malaysia. Today is the first day. Today we have two speakers, Dr. Hardeep Singh, IK Gujarat Punjab Technical University, Punjab, India, and Dr. Chavita Durai, Dean, Research and Development, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Madras Christian College, Chennai, India. Dear participants, we are moving to first session. Our speaker is Dr. Hardeep Singh. Dr. Hardeep Singh is a senior academician, researcher, author, orator, mentor, motivational speaker, and life coach. Dr. Hardeep Singh, having 20 years of total experience, he is a life member of various international bodies like IAER, CSI, IAC, SIT, IADRC, IFRC, ISTD, and he has been honored as a patron member by World Academic Industry Research Collaboration Organization for the period of lifetime. His profile has been published in World Book of Researches in 2018 at Oxford, United Kingdom. He has been esteemed to address various conferences as keynote speaker. To his credit, Go 41 international conferences, 36 national conferences, 11 UGC seminars, and 100 plus webinars, workshops, FDPs, EDPs, 20 plus awards, 30 plus professional memberships, 4 books, and 5 anthology books. He has presented 100 plus research papers and articles. He has published 100 plus research papers, articles in conference proceedings, and journals of national and international fame under the tag of publishers of well-reputed like Elsevier, Scopus, IEE, and Springer, etc. He has guided 100 plus projects to the students of BTech and MBA. He has also guided MTech and PhD candidates for writing and publication of research papers. His latest book, co-authored by Professor J.S. Jogi and Dr. D.P. Godari, a well-known scientist and educationalist, the book named as Written and Oral Technical Communication Skills for Engineers and Scientists. This book is available in 8 foreign languages. We are very glad to have you, sir. We hand over in this session to you. This session is yours. Please begin.
Sir, I need to share the screen.
Okay, sir.
Sir, I am unable to share. Sir, please allow me to share the screen.
Yes, sir. You can share.
Sir, I am not able to share the screen. I hope my screen is visible to everybody. So, should I start now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Good evening, all the participants of this workshop, wonderful workshop on this research writing and research methodology. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this workshop to invite me as a speaker for this workshop to talk on the topic. Today, I will talk on fundamental guidelines for writing and publishing academic research paper. So, the contents that I will talk today, that will be about the introduction of the paper, then structure of research paper, choosing a right title, abstract, What do journal editors want? Reading improves your writing. Then publication ethics, choosing a target journal, what makes a good manuscript. Then scientific languages that are to be used in while writing a research paper. Then conclusions, acknowledgements, references, and important points to remember, and worth of your paper. So starting with the introduction of this my talk, that is fundamental guidelines for writing and publishing academic research paper. Publishing research results is an integral part of a researcher's professional life. However, researchers publish their research papers according to their own needs. It may be their passion, it may be for their, you can say, promotion in their designation, in their profession, teaching profession, academic profession, and it may be to serve for the society, to give a solution for the existing problem in the society. It may be, you can say, any cause for writing a research paper and then publishing a research paper. According to Robert Day, a scientific research paper is defined as a written and published report describing original research results. Then coming to the structure of the research paper, there are various, you can say, philosophers, various thinkers who have given different structures for writing a research paper. According to Hourglass model, the structure of a paper comprises three core parts: introduction, body, and discussion. According to King's model, the structure of paper comprises of title, abstract, introduction, body, discussion, and references. So this I have made a structure, a rough structure. First, title of the research paper. After title, then we write down abstract, then keywords, then we write introduction. After that, we write related work, or we can say it literature review, then problem statement. After that, we write methodology, then results, conclusions, acknowledgements, and lastly references. We should not skip any of the, you can say, this topics of the research paper, of the structure of the research paper while writing a research paper, or while submitting our paper to the conference, or submitting our paper to the journal for the publication. So whenever we start any work, any job, any assignment, any project, a question comes in our mind: where to start and how to start. How can we start writing a research paper? First is choosing a right title. This is the main opportunity to attract the reader's attention. Remember that readers are the potential authors who will cite your paper. So, dear participants, you have to choose a right title. The title should be very specific, not too broad. The title should be substantially different from others. It should be unique. You should not repeat any title that any researcher has previously published a paper with that title, and you are again repeating that title. No, title should be unique, it should be specific, it should be substantially different from the others. Avoid general or big titles. Keep it informative and concise. Then keep in mind that interest to learn in depth. The title or the research topic that should be feasible, it should not be too difficult, and material should be available so that we can write a good research paper that may serve the society, that may serve a solution for the problem of the society. Then a research worthy and not too broad. The title that should not be not too broad. This is one sample or one example of a, you can say, title that I have given. It is energy efficient hybrid policy in green cloud computing, and below that title we will write the affiliations, the like first is affiliation, then second affiliation, first author's name, then second author's name, his email id or her email id. This is another sample or another example of the title, how we can write the title. And here we have written the affiliations like Hardeep Singh and Bikram Pal Singh in different manner. In the previous example that I had shown you here, that is in different manner. We can write in any manner, or you can follow the guidelines given by the journal or given by the conference, you can say conference committee, that have made the guidelines. We can follow that. Then comes that when we are going to write a research paper, from where we will get the material, gathering the material, it is again a very important point to note down, that from where can we get the material. We can get it from Google, we can get it from Wikipedia, we can get it from any scientific journals, any research papers that have been already published in the journals that match to your title of the research. We can get it from the encyclopedia, we can get the theoretical matter from the books or the any conference proceedings that have been already published. Then we can get the material from the newspapers, professional newspapers. You can use the articles that have been published in the various newspapers to make it a, you can say, good quality research paper. And moreover, you can get the material from the different websites. Next coming, note taking. Note taking is very important thing, whether you are writing a research paper or you are writing a book. Note taking is very much important. Organize all information that you have gathered. Do not include any irrelevant information that you don't understand, and highlight the essential details and apply color code by topic. My point of this slide is that note taking is very much important when you are going to write a research paper or when you are going to write a book. That from where will you get the material? Like I will show you one sample. That here is a sample. You should keep a notebook. You should have different colored pens, highlighters, or pencils. You can underline or highlight that material according to your priority, that this I have to write first, this I have to write on the second point, this I have to mention in the references, this thing I have to mention in the findings. According to that, you can highlight or you can underline this with the different pens. Accordingly, that I have shown you in this slide, that there are different pens, there is a pencil, and in the notebook, the notes have been made and they have been, you can say, highlighted or underlined with the different colored pens. This is note taking, and note taking is very much important part of writing. It may be writing a research paper or it may be writing a book, dissertation, anything. So coming to the first part of the research paper, like I have talked about the title. After title, we write the affiliation, and immediately after that, we have to write the abstract. What is abstract? Abstract summarizes your work. Write a concise abstract. Abstract should be 100 to 300 words only. It should not be too long. It should not be in multiple paragraphs. It should be only in one paragraph. An abstract should tell the problem that the paper discusses, the work that has been done or the method being used, the research methodology that you have used, or the research tools that you have used. You can write in the abstract in brief. And lastly, original findings and achievements should also be mentioned. So to make it simple for the, especially for the freshers, I have made the bifurcation that 1 to 4 lines describe the problem addressed, 1 to 4 sentences objective or hypothesis, then 1 to 2 sentences techniques, and avoid the details. Your abstract should not be more than 300 words, and 1 to 3 sentences most important results, and final sentence concluding statement. An abstract usually does not have reference numbers, does not have multiple paragraphs. Abstract should have 5 to 6 keywords. Keywords are very much important to be mentioned. There are the labels of your manuscripts and critical to correct indexing and searching. The keywords should not be too broad or too narrow. Use only those abbreviations that are firmly established in the field. Do not make your own abbreviations. The majority of people will only read this section. It must be able to stand alone. Your abstract should be written very good. Everything should be mentioned in the abstract, so that the reader or the researcher who is going to read your abstract, he should get every point what you have included in your search, and this abstract may generate a interest in the reader so that he may go towards the full paper, full length paper, that he may read it and cite it. So here is an example that how can we write the abstract. Like this is a paper that has been published in International Journal of Management. Firstly, we have written the title. After that, we have written the affiliations. After that, we have written the abstract. Abstract is written very briefly. The maximum words can be 300, and after that abstract, we have written the keywords. After writing the abstract, then make a preliminary outline. In some conferences or some journals, we firstly send only abstract. When abstract is accepted, after that we send the final research paper. So make a preliminary outline. Strong plan makes your job easier. So you should make a plan how to write your research paper. You should brainstorming is very much important. Creative writing, it is very much important while writing a research paper or while writing a book. When you make and organize it logically. What is the preliminary outline of research paper? First, introduction, gather the material for introduction, then body, after that conclusion. In body, all the headings are covered that I have discussed in the structure of the research paper that I have discussed in the first slides. Then write your first draft, organize your information into section in order of your outline. Don't worry about correct spelling or punctuation at this stage. You should know the purpose of your search paper, and there should be logical flow of your ideas. This is very important to note, that you should not take care of this grammatical errors, English language errors, or correct spellings at this stage, because at this stage you are making a rough draft. You are only you can say organizing that information or that matter that you have taken during note taking, a rough matter, rough draft. And after that, when you move towards next section or move toward the reviewing of your search paper, then you have to take care of English language, correct spellings and punctuations and everything. Then introduction is most difficult part of the paper. Likely I have told that firstly the researcher or the reader, he will look towards the title. When title suits him, then he will look towards the abstract. When abstract suits him, then goes toward the introduction. Introduction is the most difficult part of the paper. The purpose of the introduction is introducing readers to your problem or work. An introduction usually contains brief background of the topic area, existing work, which would lead to the importance or originality of your work, description of your problem, achievements, significance, and brief methodology of your work. This is a sample that I have given you, that how can we write the introduction. Then coming to the literature review or related study. What is literature review? Literature review is studying the already available material, already available literature. That may be research papers, that may be conference proceedings, or anything that have been already done or already published. To read those research papers, that is called literature review. That helps us to make a theoretical background of the research paper. A literature review is a search and evaluation of available literature in your given subject or chosen topic area. It documents the state of art with respect to the subject or topic you are writing about. In simple words, a literature review is a survey of scholarly sources on a specific topic. It provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing you to identify relevant theories, methods, and gaps in the existing research. The purpose of literature review is to gain an understanding of an existing research and debates relevant to a particular topic or area of study, and to present that knowledge in the form of a written report or a written research paper. Conducting a literature review helps you build your knowledge in your field. Then coming that we all are human nature. Anything we suggest us to do, then a point comes in our mind. Why should we do the literature review? Why should we do the assignments? So the answer of this why is to determine what exists in the scholarly literature, to identify possible gaps in the scholarly literature for the further research. Gaps is very much important to study, very much important to note down, so that you may write a good quality research paper. To inform the research topic, theory, and associated methodologies, you can get the point, you can get the idea what theory you can use, what theory you can apply, and what research methodology, what tools you can use in your research paper or in your research thesis to compare or contrast against findings resulting from the current study. Then coming number of sources you need in a literature review. Literature review, number of sources, it depends upon for what purpose you are doing a literature review. In general, undergraduate students will usually be required to use somewhere between 5 and 20 sources. Graduate students typically will need between 20 and 40 sources. However, the number can vary greatly. So always read your requirement, consult your supervisor, consult your guide, your project supervisor, and your professor, and they can guide you better about the number of sources that you need in a literature review for writing a good quality research paper or good quality research thesis. This is how we can write literature review. Then coming to the need of the study, you should know the need of the study when you doing a study on a specific topic, the objectives, the need, the importance, that should be clear to you so that you may make a good research. Use your research problem as a starting point. State your research, state how your search will contribute to the existing literature in the field. Explain how your search will benefit society, and mention the specific persons or institutions who will benefit from your study. Dear participants, please keep in mind that your research paper or your search work is only a valid research or a good quality research when you are giving a solution to the existing problem of the society. You know that this problem is existing in the society, and I am finding the solution for that problem, and through that research paper or that research project you are giving a solution to that problem, then your search is a good quality research. Next coming objectives of the study. As I have told you that need of the study is very much important. In the similar way, the objectives of the study should be is very much important. It should be mentioned. There should be minimum 3 to 4 objectives of the research study of your research paper, and your findings should match with the objectives of the research paper. Only then your research paper is complete, when the objectives that you are completing or you are fulfilling with the findings that you are given in the last of the research paper. Then coming motivation of search, this part you can add to make a good picture, good presentation of the research paper. You can write down motivation of search. What motivated you to do this research on this research topic? You can skip this, you can say this title or this topic. It is not very much mandatory, but it looks good if you write it in your research paper. It looks that you are a passionate researcher. After that, you will write the research methodology, that what research methodology you have used to do that research. You can the data that can be used, that can be primary data, that can be secondary data. Primary data is that we use by making different questionnaires, or doing different personal interviews, or doing various surveys by making different questionnaires and contacting to the different respondents. that is primary data. And secondary data is that already has been published via various research papers that has been published in various journals, various conference proceedings, or various articles that has been published in the newspapers, or any theoretical data that you have taken from the books that have been published. That is secondary data, and first was primary data that you will mention in the research methodology that your paper is based on what type of data. Then sampling procedure, you will also mention that what sample you have taken, from which area that sample you have taken, what type of respondents you have considered. All that should be mentioned in the sampling procedure. And one thing more I would like to tell you, that everything should be transparent in your search, transparent in your research paper, that you should have mentioned everything in the research paper, so that the reader, the viewer, or the other person who is looking for your search paper, he may get every point clearly. So next is statistical techniques too. Then you can write down that what techniques you have used, what tools you have used in the research paper. Then comes research limitations. We can also write the research limitations. What are the limitations of my research? After that comes data analysis and findings of the study. When you have choose the research methodology, you have choose the techniques, tools, you have collected the data. Then next comes data analysis. This we use by using different softwares or different tools to come up to the findings. After that, after doing the data analysis, we come towards the findings. We write the findings, that what we have observed by doing that research, by doing that data analysis, by doing that survey, by contacting the respondents. That is the results of their research paper, that what you have found. And one thing more I would like to repeat, that your findings that should match the objectives. Your findings should give a result of your objectives. Then comes conclusions. Then we write the conclusion. After that, we will write the future scope of the study. Future scope of the study means that this will help the future researchers, or the you can say future scholars who are looking to work in the same area on the same topic. They will help you to do the research, to continue the research. And this shows that you are very confident about the work that you have done, and you are giving the future scope to the future scholars or the future researchers. Then comes conclusion. Tell us how your work advances the field from the present knowledge. Write clear conclusions. Conclusion, you can say, conclusion is summary of the full research paper. What are the findings, what you have found, what type of objectives you have met with the results. Then one thing more important, do not repeat the abstract. Abstract and conclusion, they are both are different things. Abstract we write before writing the research paper, and conclusion we write after doing every research, after getting every finding. Then we write the conclusion. So do not repeat the abstract as conclusion, or just list experimental results. Provide a clear scientific justification for your work, and indicate possible applications and extensions. You should also suggest future experiments, or point out those that are underway, that I have discussed under the point, that is scope of future study. That is very much important. This is how we can write the conclusion of our research paper. This is a sample. Then we come towards the references, reference citations, that are very much important. More mistakes are found in the references than any other part of the manuscript. We should follow the, you can say, style, like MLA style, APA style, as that is given by the journal, or that is given by the conference committee. It is one of the most annoying problems and causes greater headaches among the editors. So references should be genuine, it should be good, it should be, you can say, related to your work. cite the main scientific publications on which your work is based. Do not inflate the manuscript with too many references. It does not make it a better manuscript. Very important to note that writing a large number of references and in the last of the research paper doesn't make a good quality research paper and doesn't make a good presentation of your research paper. You should only mention the genuine references. Avoid excessive self citations. Avoid excessive citations of publications from the same reason. For this, you have to do a deep literature review, a literature review in a good manner. Then this is how we can write the references. This is how the references look like at the end of the research paper. Then when you have written the whole research paper, then comes to the last stage, that in the starting when we were talking about the rough draft, I have talked you that you need not to worry about the correct spelling, you need not to worry about the punctuation, you need not to worry about the English language, anything. That was a rough draft. Now your complete paper has been finished. Now the time has come to review or revision, arrange and rearrange ideas to follow your outline, checking over a draft to make sure that everything is complete, correct, correct spellings, no grammatical mistakes, good sentence structure, and there should be no punctuation mistakes. The review and revision should be given done in a very good manner, and the very much you can say good type to do the revision is that you can consult or give your good friend or your good colleague to read that research paper, because our own mistakes we cannot find out. We that the work that we have done, we look at that I have done the excellent work, there is no mistake. But your friend or your good friend, real friend, or your good colleague, he will read it very interestingly and let you know where you need to improve, and improve that research paper according to the suggestions given by your good friend or your colleague. Then the very important part, plagiarism. Plagiarism is a crime. What is plagiarism? It is, you can say, copy paste. When you copy the ideas, copy the matter from others research paper or some site and put it in your research paper and present it as your own research paper, that is called plagiarism. To avoid plagiarism, you have to cite the work, you have to put it in the references, and you have to read that research paper, take the idea and write it in your own language. How can we do that? I will let you know that how can you make a good English matter to write a good quality research paper. Then comes, what do journal editors want, or what do the journal reviewers want, or what do the experts want? They want good quality work, original research work, active research areas, and lastly, clear and concise English. You need to take care of these 4 points while submitting your research paper to a journal for publication, or while submitting your research paper to the conference for presentation and publication. So come to the point that how can we improve our English writing? Reading, improve your writing. Read as often as possible. Discuss with your colleagues and friends. It assists you with journal selection, and reading provides ideas for your next manuscript. So you should keep on reading English books, English newspapers, that improve your vocabulary, that improves how to make a good sentence structure, how to use the prepositions, how to use the conjunctions, where word to be used, where it tells you. So make reading your habit, and reading improve your writing quality also. Then comes publication ethics. Ethics means do's and don'ts, that you should know what should be done and what should not be done. In publication ethics, it comes multiple submissions. You cannot submit your paper to multiple conferences or multiple journals. Then plagiarism, I have already talked. Improper author contribution, then data fabrication and falsification, and conflict of interest. Then coming, choosing a target journal. It is very much important before publishing a research paper in your in a journal. You need to choose a target journal. Journal selection should be based on an honest evaluation of the manuscript, compare with the stated aims and scope and impact factor of the potential target journals. Then comes, what is a good manuscript? Good manuscript contains a clear, useful, and exciting scientific message. Good manuscript flows in a logical manner that the readers can follow. Good manuscript is formatted to best showcase the material, and good manuscript is written in a style that transmits the message very clearly. Then, coming to the point, scientific languages or tenses that we use in the research paper. We use present tense for known facts and hypotheses, past tense for experiments that you had conducted, and past tense when you describe the results of an experiment. These are the scientific languages that you should take care of while writing a good quality research paper. Next, coming acknowledgements. Recognize those who help in research. You want them to help again, don't you? That when somebody has helped in your work, in writing your research paper, in collecting the data, in doing the research paper, or in giving you some type of help, you should recognize that person. You should write the name of that person in your research paper. That looks good and he feels appreciated, and he will again help you again to do your research paper. Include individuals who have assisted you in your study. It may be your advisors, it may be your supervisors, it may be your professors, financial supporters, proofreaders, typists, or the suppliers who have given you the material to conduct your experiments. This is the, you can say, sample or example how we can write the acknowledgements, the people who have helped you in doing your search work. Then in the last, according to the, you can say, guidelines of the journal or guidelines of the conference, you can also write down the brief biography of the authors. Like this is a sample, this is brief biography of author 1 and author 2. Then lastly, important points to remember: preparation is important, but do not spend too much time on your preparations. Submit to the right journal, submit to one journal only, don't submit to multiple journals. Check the English language, pay attention to structure and formatting, and pay attention to the journal requirements, and always be honest. Then I have already talked in the starting that why do people publish? For career building, for improving skills, gainer satisfaction. Then comes worth of your research paper. Your paper is worthless. I have already talked. It is worthless if no one reads, uses, or cites it. A research study is useful only if it is clearly described. Someone else can use it in his or own studies. It arouses the scientist's or researcher's interest and allows others to produce the results. And lastly, again speaking, that your research is only valuable when you are giving a solution to the existing problem of the study. So lastly, I thank to the organizers of this conference to invite me to give this expert talk on fundamental guidelines to write down a good quality research paper and publish a good quality research paper. So platform is yours. Any participant who wants to ask any question, you are open, you can ask the question.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask.
So, with your permission, if I can please ask a question.
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Sir, for example, if I have published some article, it has already been published, and I would like to reproduce some of the paragraphs of those articles which I have written. what is the limit that I can actually insert from my own article? And yes, of course, in the footnotings, I need to mention that what is the original piece of work. But I'm just little. I would like to have the clarity on this point. That what is the exact amount that I can actually reproduce?
Ma'am, one thing I would like to tell you that when in any journal publications or in any conference, there is 15 to 20% of plagiarism that is allowed,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes.
Secondly, if you copy your own article or write your own article, it comes under self plagiarism.
Yes,
That,
sir.
right? Then you can write few lines and you can write that in inverted commas, and you will write it in the references and cite it also. And if you want to write the full article, you can say write that article not in the same language. You can take the meaning, take the idea, and write that in your own words again in different language, right?
Right.
Your English should be strong when you are going to write a research paper, you are going to write your PhD thesis, or you are going to write a book. Your English should be strong, and for that you should you can say keep on reading various books, various articles, and various newspapers. I hope you got my point.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So, one last question. Actually, I'm from law background.
Okay.
And there are lots of cases actually we study and we critically analyze, and there are some of the paragraphs which really needs good references in our articles. So it goes generally, sometimes it goes very big, but then paper looks quite quoted. So is that we can use double quotes for some lines and then put three dots? Is that the perfect way of writing down?
Ma'am, you can write, but keep in mind that you can write too much matter in the same language.
Okay,
You got
it has
my point,
to
Anna?
change. Yes.
Likely somebody has written a thirsty crow. We can
Yes.
again write that thirsty crow, that we have to change the language. Crow will remain the same, but the language will change.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank
Right.
you.
Any other query? Any query more? Any person willing to ask any question? I am here to
Dear
answer your
participants, if
queries.
you have any questions, you can ask. Any other questions, participants? Dear participants, any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Hardeep Singh, for this very informative session. Dear participants, we are moving to second session. Let me introduce our speaker. Dr. Tabitha Durai has been teaching in the Department of Commerce, Madras Christian College since 2001. Having completed her PhD in 2009 from the University of Madras, she is actively involved in research by the way of research publications in journals and presentations in national and international conferences. Her interests are in the areas of human resource management, organizational behavior, and marketing. 7 PhD research scholars have successfully completed their PhD program under her guideship. She is a reviewer in various indexed journals and a member of the Board of Studies and Examinations of premier institutes in the country. She has held various positions in the college and currently Dean Research and Development. And her other certificates, UGC NET in 2006, A diploma in computerized financial accounting from LIBOR Informatics Center, Loyola College, Chennai. Her academic and research certificate Pibulon's Academy Peer Reviewer from 28 September 2020. And her areas of specialization: human resources, marketing, financial management, and academic and administrative positions. Started as a facilitator, then member, admissions committee member, academic council, staff advisor, secretary, coordinator, academic and administrator, audit team head, president, associate dean, and dean. And Doctor of Philosophy in the influence of career angles on organizational citizenship behavior among IT professionals. Her publications: published 47 papers and many international conferences, many workshops, FDPs, and ADPs. Also worked as an spokesperson for various conferences. His book, editor of Proceedings of the Interdisciplinary Conclave, the book in ISBN, chapters in books, study material on basic of marketing for Christian Institute of Management, Department of Management Studies, August 2008, ISBN 8190187953. An academic and research assignment served as subject expert in the selection committee for recruitment of assistant professor in the Department of Commerce. We are very glad to have you, ma'am. We hand over in the session to you. The session is yours. Please begin.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Let me share my screen. Sir, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible. We can see.
Yes. Is the screen moving, sir?
Yes, ma'am. It's moving.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. At the outset, I'm very happy to be here, and I would like to profoundly thank the organizers of the Lavender Literary Trust for organizing such programs. I think this is very much the need of the hour, and I was happy to. I'm really happy to be a part of this program. Yes, I have been in the field of education for a while, and there are a lot of learnings that I have had over the past few years. And what I would like to share with you all is a summary of my learnings when it comes to writing a manuscript. I was attending the first session, and you might notice that we're talking on the same lines. I'm very happy that both the sessions have been placed on the first day. And I think the listeners will get the expertise of two different people, and you can put them together and take what is best for you. So without much delay, let me continue. If there's any questions, I know the crowd seemed very quiet, but I would be very happy if you ask me questions. I'll also go through it a little quickly, because I saw that Dr. Hardeep had already touched on many of the areas that I would also be looking into. My topic, I've titled it as manuscript writing. And what we would see in the next 1 hour is the link between teaching and research, why to publish, why to write papers, what are the problems faced by researchers, and what tools can you use for research, and what are the different sections in a manuscript. Now, what is a manuscript? A manuscript is a research paper that has not been published yet. Once it is published, it becomes a research paper, a research article, a publication, and so on. But a manuscript is something which is not yet published. So we're going to see manuscript writing. How do we write our research papers? Now, I do not know, are there any teachers in this crowd? Can the teachers say yes or something? I can't see the screen, but are there teachers here? Can you say yes or something? Unmute and say yes or something. Are there any teachers in the crowd?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you for replying. Yeah, so there's always this question. I'm a teacher. Let me go to my classroom and let me teach. I want to be a good teacher. I want to teach my students. Students are God given to me. I have to take care of my students. I have to make sure that they succeed well in life. Let me be a good teacher. This is what we always think of, and this is what I thought of also. But we need to take on research also along with us as a teacher. Or if there are research scholars here, I'm sure you're going to become teachers in the future. So research is a vital component of the teaching process. And the balance that comes between teaching and research is learning. As a teacher, we always learn. As a researcher, you learn. When you do research, you would be especially in the topic that you're teaching or in the field. Say, for example, now I'm from a commerce background, so probably I'd be using a little examples from my discipline. Now, suppose in commerce we have marketing. So suppose I'm going to teach marketing. If I do research in marketing, I will be a better teacher in marketing. When I teach marketing, my classes are going to be definitely better because I have done some research, and research goes beyond the textbook. So for a teacher, the we need to strike a balance between teaching and research. Okay, so most of the time I was one who never was interested in research. I always thought, let me be a good teacher. But then I have realized I can be a better teacher if I do research. Now, why publish? Now, this is if you see, most of our institutions are literally torturing faculty members to publish papers. We have to publish NAC, NIRF, rankings. We need to publish. If you want, your career advancement, you want any increments, everywhere you go, you need to publish. And if you're a research scholar, you need to publish too. So let's see just quickly a few reasons, and I hope to motivate you to publish papers. Okay, so when you publish papers, it is academic advancement. You're advancing academically. It is a mandatory requirement for scholars. I do not know which university you would be in, but I belong to the University of Madras. Here we have to compulsorily publish papers. So if you're doing your PhD program, you have to publish. So it is a mandatory requirement. When you publish, you are sharing information. So when you share information, you have done a research on in some particular area, you are sharing the information by publishing it. You document intellectual knowledge. You have worked hard on writing a paper, on doing your research. It is well documented and it is published in a journal. Nobody can copy it. If at all they want to copy, they have to cite your work and then use your work. So documentation, it develops a particular discipline. For example, the ma'am who asked a question said she's from law. So if you are going to do research in law, then you would be actually developing that particular discipline, maybe academically or practically. You would be developing that particular discipline. There's also a recognition. You could always say, yes, I have published so many papers. In your CV, your papers would feature over there. It is also a permanent record. Nowadays, we do not have only print journals, we have a lot of e-journals. So all of your content would be available online. It becomes a permanent record. So, and of course, it improves your writing skills. You're able to write better because you're writing. Nowadays people don't write much. We don't read much either. Sir was telling what is the best way to avoid mistakes. It is by reading. So when you write papers, it helps you improve your writing skills. But what are the problems that we face? Most researchers, now when I say researchers, it could be faculty also who are attempting to do research. what are the problems that we face? We do not have training programs, but lucky for you, you are able to attend in the evening training programs such as these, which are conducted by organizations to help you learn. You know,
Dear participants, please wait. We have some technical issues.
hello,
Yes, ma'am.
can you hear me, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear.
I'm sorry, sir. I do not know when I got cut off. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear.
Okay, okay. And I do not know when I got logged out, but I'll continue.
Yes, ma'am, you can continue.
Right. Okay. So when it comes to writing a manuscript, when we think about a thesis, when you think about your project, your PG project or your MPhil project, when you write a thesis or your PhD dissertation, it is a completely different format that you will have to use, yeah, which would differ from university to university, or your guide would be able to give you information. But what I'm going to, so this would normally be about 150 to 200 pages. You would write your thesis. But what I'm going to do today is to give you an outline as to how to write a research paper. Now, a research paper is what you can submit in conferences, in journals, and this is the pattern of a research paper in indexed journals. So when I say indexed journals, journals that are indexed with UGC CARE. Now, UGC CARE has two groups, Group 1 and Group 2. The Group 1 journals would be journals that are indexed. The Group 2 journals are journals that are indexed with Scopus and Web of Science. You will find such journals there. And this is how a paper is accepted on international standards. This is completely different from what we have probably learned and what we have done in the past. So this is a brief overview of how a research paper would what are the different sections, and this is what we are going to see today in today's uh, talk. Now, a research paper can be anywhere between 5 to 15 pages, okay, when compared to a thesis, which is about 200 pages. Now, before you start writing your manuscript, it is important to go to the journal and check the guide for authors. You would have selected a journal where you're going to publish your work, or there would be a conference. You need to go to the guide for authors, the author guidelines, and there you will find article structure. Every journal has a specific article structure. They would tell you the word limit, how many words you can use, whether you can use 6,000 words, whether you can use 15,000 words, or should you restrict your work to 3,000 words. So it's important before you start writing to identify your journal, go to the author guidelines and check what is the structure. You also check points such as how many words, how many pages, all of those details you can check before you start writing. So now there are different sections in a manuscript. The first section consists of the title, authors and author affiliation, the abstract and the keywords. Then you have section 2. Now this is your core part of your research paper, the core part of your research paper. And here we have introduction, methods, results, and discussion and conclusion. This is the core part of your paper. And then you have section 3, where you have acknowledgements, references, any supplementary material, any annexures, your questionnaire, all those things would come into section 3. So 3 sections in a manuscript. But we are going to now start with the core of your manuscript, which is section 2. We are going to start with section 2. Now, this is popularly called as the IMRAD structure. This is internationally accepted, and most journals, like I say, follow this particular structure. So, in the days to come, most universities, even when you go for a paper presentation anywhere, it will be good if you follow the IMRAD structure in your manuscript. I for introduction, M for methods, R for results, and D for discussion. Now, in between your introduction and methods, you will do your literature review. whatever literature you're searching, any literature review that you would like to give, all that comes in between your introduction and your methods. And towards the end, you have your conclusion. Okay, so this is the structure in which your manuscript should be. Now, let's look into this in detail. Now, if you look at your manuscript structure, this would be the order of your manuscript. You begin with your title, abstract, keywords. This is the first part where you will have to give it in the first page. Then you have introduction, materials, results, discussion, conclusion, followed by your references and tables and figures. Now, this is the order of the manuscript, but the order in which you prepare is completely different. Now, if you're going to start by writing the title of your manuscript, you could go wrong. It is always better to do the title towards the end. So let's see what is the order in which you should actually prepare the manuscript. You can start with your materials and methods. That is where you have done your analysis. Bring in your tables and figures, your results. Then you bring in your discussion, your conclusion, and then you write your introduction. And you will see why we are writing the introduction towards the end. And this will be followed by your abstract, keywords, and then the title. So if you see, the order in which you are preparing should be completely different than the order of the manuscript. If you're going to start with the title, there's a high possibility that you may go wrong. If you're going to write your abstract at the very beginning, when you haven't even completed your discussion, there is a possibility that you may not include a significant finding in your abstract. So the order of a manuscript could be in a particular way, but your order of preparation can be different. In between all of this, you will have references. When you refer again, the ma'am had asked or raised a question on if I'm going to use some content in another paper of mine, then you can give references. You can quote your own work. You can give references throughout your paper. If you're going to use anybody's work, if you're going to, let me say, copy from somewhere, it is always good for you to give references. So throughout, you will give references in your work. Now, I'm going to introduce you to what is called as a scaffolding. A scaffolding is a term that is used in the construction business. When people build buildings, you will find this scaffolding that is there, where they stand and they paint. It helps them reach higher and higher. So it is a kind of levels that you can use to reach greater heights. So let's see what is scaffolding in research. So just a few ways in which you can write your paper in a very step-by-step manner. The first part of your paper is the introduction. Now, your introduction will consist of the background to the problem that you have studied. And I'm going to introduce you to a very simple way of writing an introduction. But before you write, you need to know what is your research question? Do you have adequate reviews? Have you done enough of literature reviews to bring a background to the study? Are you using current reviews? Is it relevant? Is it accurate to your study? So this is the review of literature. You should have done your review of literature before you start writing your introduction. Now, this here is called a scaffolding. If maybe you're listening, you can probably take a screenshot of this, which would tell you that every introduction needs to have 6 paragraphs. I'm telling you 6 for a beginner. Okay, if you're a beginner, you can stick to this format where you can have 6 paragraphs. But of course, there is no fixed number. You can always add more. Okay. Now, your first paragraph should talk about the background to your study. What is the background? What is the context with which you started writing this paper? First paragraph, background. If you're going to take up a study on COVID or or on edutech or on emotional intelligence, give a background, just an introductory paragraph. What is the research problem? What is the question? Why is it important, significant? Why is this topic important? The topic that you have chosen, why is it important? Significance. What is the research question? Direct question that you're trying to identify, or your hypothesis. What is the objective? When you're writing a research paper, you need not have 5, 6 objectives. When you're writing a thesis, you can have 5, 6 objectives. But when you're writing a research paper, you can just have one objective, or even 2 objectives is enough, because you're going to write a paper only for 6 pages, roughly 6 to 10 pages. So just one objective or 2 objectives is sufficient. What are the implications? Just because you're doing the study, what does it mean? The very common term used is called managerial implications. What are the implications of your study? 6 paragraphs. If you sit in one day, you can finish introduction. You just have to write 6 paragraphs. Let me show you. Now, this is a paper that I found. You will find different paragraphs, and at each paragraph, they have just written there's an introduction. And if you see in the next paragraph, they're giving you the statement of your research problem. It goes on to give the significance. They even talk about the research question. What is the objective? They state implications, and they give a few literature review. That's all there is to writing the introduction. So when you write an introduction, it is going from the known to the unknown. And then you have the research gap. I will not go into this in detail because finding the research gap is a big topic all by itself. So from what you know, that is a background, you come down to the unknown, which is your research question or your research problem, and then you come down to your research gap. So many people have done studies in all this area, but in this particular area, studies have not been done. This is the research gap. So the research gap has to be mentioned in your introduction. So that's it. The introduction is done. You give a background to the study. What made you choose the study, the reasoning, the logic behind identifying that research problem, the goal of the study, the hypothesis, few key references, and then what are the implications of the findings. All of this go into writing your introduction. The next part of your paper. So IMRAD, I for introduction. The second one is M for methods and measures. So how did you conduct the study? Okay. So what method did you use? If you used any new method, for example, you probably used a survey and an interview method, or maybe you took up a case study and you analyzed case studies, or you just had an interview with somebody, or was it an observation? What method did you use? What statistical tools did you use? Did you use any statistical tools? What statistical tools did you use? You can use subheadings, and you list in the same order. You list the methods. So suppose you have used 2 methods, then you talk about those 2 methods in this particular section. Now, there is a scaffolding for this also. Okay. Now, before we go into that, you can cite literature reviews even in your methods. So for example, if somebody has used a stratified method of sampling, you can quote research papers that have used that particular method. So you can say that other studies have used this particular method, and therefore you are also using it. So you can cite literature reviews. Who are the sample? Who's the sample? You can describe the sample. Who is included in the sample and who is excluded in the sample? For example, if you're going to do a study in the IT sector, employees who are working in the IT sector, so that would be your sample. Now, what all is included and what all is excluded? That means, let's say you want to only study about women in the IT sector, say work-life balance. So women in the IT sector, that means you are including only women. So what is your inclusion criteria? What is your exclusion criteria? Say, for example, maybe you're talking only to people who have 10 years of experience and more. You don't want to talk to freshers. So your inclusion and exclusion criteria should be mentioned. What are the group characteristics? So maybe people who are working in the IT sector, what is the group characteristics can be mentioned. What procedures and protocols you followed? How did you collect the data? So you can say Google Forms were prepared, Google Forms were circulated among social media sites, and you were able to collect data. What kind of statistical analysis was used? So what test did you use? So you could say I used tests like t-test, I used SEM, or you did multiple regression. What tests that did you use? Now suppose you're going to do research qualitatively, how are you going to analyze your data? That can also be mentioned. Now here, this again is an important screen for you. Again, 6 paragraphs that goes into methods and measures. What is the method that you choose? What is the logic behind the method that you chose? So if there's any literature review, you can add that. Who's your sample? That is your study participants. Write a paragraph about your study participants. Write a paragraph about why you're including them or why you're excluding certain people. What are the characteristics? What is the procedure you followed in collecting the data? What is the statistical analysis, statistical tools that you have used? So the second part of your manuscript is done. The first part was introduction. The second part, methods and measures, another 6 paragraphs. So here again, this is a paper that one of my students had written where they mention in a tabular column the literature review that supports the statements. So suppose you're going to have a questionnaire and your questionnaire has got statement, your statements will be from the review of literature. You can't just simply write your own statements. Statements have to be backed by the review of literature. So you can add reviews. And this is a simple example of how a methods and measures portion of your manuscript can be. You talk about your study participants, inclusion criteria, group characteristics, the statistics that you have used, what protocols that you have used. So here you have methods and measures. Again, this is just a summary of the methods and measures that is used. Going on to the next part of your manuscript, introduction, methods and measures. The next part is results and discussion. As the word suggests, what have you found from the study? What did you find from the study? So present your results, a representative. You don't have to put everything. You can just give a gist of what results. Don't give too much details. If you have lots of tables and lots of charts, they can be used, they can be added to the supplementary materials. You can use subheadings. The data must be presented in the same order. Okay. So suppose you're having 2 objectives, then you first deal with objective 1, then you deal with objective 2. And you have to have a very logical order in which you have to present your results. Not just 1 point here and 1 point there and you put it all together. There must be a sequence. It must be like a story. You have to tell what comes first. You have to tell that in the beginning. And then you slowly go on to the major finding. So there must be a particular order. Now, when you write results, 3 paragraphs. What is the key result? What did you find? How did you find it? So if you're doing any statistical analysis, what is the statistical analysis that you used? And then you can have visual representation, that is tables, charts, graphs, all this can be used in your results section. So when you're writing results, only three points you should keep in mind when you're writing results. So this is again an example of the results in a paper that I had worked on. So you just see what is the objective of the study. The first 3.1 talks about the demographic profile. So this is just grouping of one set of results. And my first set of results is the demographic profile. So I've put a demographic table and then I have given a description. I've just explained. Then I go to 3.2. This is my second objective. In my second objective, I'm giving all the data. I'm introducing the objective. What is my objective? Then I'm going on to introduce a statistical analysis, and then I'm giving the test results. Okay, so or you can give your, either you can give your objectives or you can give your hypothesis. If you have a hypothesis to prove or to disprove, you can put it there, your statistical analysis, and then your test results. So this is another example. Then you go on to the next objective. In your next objective, your hypothesis 2, a table, and the interpretation. Again, you go on to another component. These are just examples of how you can present your results section. Now, when it comes to tables and figures, many times we see we don't pay attention to tables and figures. We just copy, especially if you're doing quantitative research, you would end up copying the table exactly from your statistical package. Like, for example, if you're using SPSS, which is commonly used here, we just copy tables, but you need to redo the tables. Tables need to be very clearly written. The legends need to be clear, legible fonts, not cramming too much of data. Care has to be done when it comes to tables and figures. So, where you give a table number, there is a table title, column heading, row heading, subheadings, everything has to be provided. You can't just simply copy paste the data from your statistical package. Okay, this slide is not very clear, but just to tell you that you need to have very, very clear titles, table numbers, row headings, column headings, everything has to be written. And I suppose you're talking about something in units, then in what units are you talking about? Is it percentages? Is it rupees? All these details need to be put very clearly in your table. We're going on to the next part of the manuscript: introduction, methods, results, and discussion. IMRAD. D is for discussion. Now, the results will just tell you what you have found. But so what? You have found all these things. What does it imply? Okay, so you must be able to connect your results to your objective. What was the objective? You must connect your result to your objective to say that this was the objective of the paper and this result has found this particular idea, or you have found a solution to a problem. If you have a hypothesis, you will have to say whether you're proving it or disproving it. I think you will know if you have hypothesis, you will accept or reject the statement. When you do a discussion, you can give the pros and cons of your results. So because you found that women are having these problems, what is the reasons why? You can add a little more content in the discussion. Okay, you can also bring out if further research is required. That can also be brought out in the discussion. So your discussion should correspond with the results. Don't repeat the same results again. That is, you don't give the statistical numbers again in discussion. Okay, only state what the results state. Don't go and don't be talking too many things. If you introduce new concepts, then there'll be too much in one paper. So avoid statements that go beyond what the results can support. Avoid unspecific expressions. Don't introduce new concepts here. Avoid new terms. Interpretation should be, this is a very important point. When you write your interpretation to your result, it should be rooted in facts, not your own speculation. What you think. Maybe this is the reason why women have problem in the workplace. You need to have statistical data to prove what you have found. Okay, so your results will be established in the discussion section. So when you're writing your discussion, there is a scaffolding that is given here. So here you can see how you can write a discussion section. What was the problem chosen in the introduction? Okay, you review your findings. What did you find? Analyze the results. State any future research directions. You can say that this study focuses only on women, and the study can be expanded to different groups of people or different industries or different situations. So scope for future research can also be provided. So this is an example of how a discussion section can look like. Okay, so if you have two objectives, your discussion will be based on those two objectives. You will first address the first objective, and then you will go on to address the second objective. Or here in this case, if you see, there are three hypothesis statements that were put out. All the three hypotheses is addressed over here. So basically, it is a summary. You're just summarizing and putting everything over here. Then we go on to the last part. Now we have finished the core. The core is your IMRAD. IMRAD format is done. Apart from that, we then have a conclusion. Now, what do you write in your conclusion? Going on to, since we don't have much time, we're going on to conclusion. Your conclusion is so important. What happens is we spend a lot of time in our results, in our discussion, and we don't pay much attention to the conclusion part because we don't have time. We have to submit. We are writing towards the deadline submission. But this scaffolding that I'm giving you is again an easy way for you to write your conclusion. Your conclusion should have 5 paragraphs. A summary statement. What is your entire topic about? A summary statement. What did you find? What are the findings? What is the novelty? Now, this is so important. When you write a research paper, there must be novelty. Now, if people want to publish your papers, they will look for novelty. Novelty means something new. What's so great about your paper? What's so great about your research paper? If you're going to take old topics, it's not going to be appealing. People will not publish. Maybe you can go to a conference, they will publish it in some predatory journal. Today, there are a lot of predatory journals that are there out there. They're not indexed. Indexed journals will look for novelty. What is the scope for future research? What is the implications? Implications means you have found out all these things. How is it going to help society? Our research should help society. Now, if you take sciences, they are probably identifying some green carbon energy or something like that. They're doing something green or hydro or they're doing something like that where they are finding out something very substantial. But when it comes to social sciences, we are only doing opinion study, perspectives. We're just finding out what people feel like and things like that. But so what? How does a society benefit from your research? So managerial implications go into your conclusion. So your conclusion will look somewhat like this. So your paper is done. I think five paragraphs in each part. Introduction, 6 paragraphs. Methods and measures, 6 paragraphs. Results, 3 paragraphs. You write same 3 results if you have 3 paragraphs. Discussions also should be 3 paragraphs. And then here you are, your final conclusion. I'm sure you can write a paper in 1 week. This is the core component of your research paper, of your manuscript. So this IMRAD format is known as your paper, your way. Introduction, why did you do the study? How did you do it? What did you do? And what does this mean? When you write the introduction, it would motivate a person to read the paper. It should be interesting. It should not be just copy pasted from somewhere. when you read the materials and methods section, it will tell you how to replicate. How can I reproduce the same research work in something, in a new paper? How can you replicate? How can you share the data? And how can you suggest policies? How can you suggest, or what solutions can you suggest? So the IMRAD format is a very simple way to write your manuscript. If you have a blank paper and you do not know where to start, I think today you have this scaffolding which I have given you for each section, which can help you to start writing your paper. So let me summarize here. These are the sections in a manuscript. We looked into the core part, that is section 2 is your core manuscript. The other two we can always fill up in the end. And let me quickly go through, I do have some time, I'll go through section 1 and section 3. Now, section 1 consists of your title, your abstract, and your keywords. Many times we do not give much importance to this, but this is important when it comes to publishing your work in indexed journals. So when I say indexed journals, I'm talking about Scopus indexed journals, journals that are indexed in the Web of Science. These journals pay a lot of importance to the title and your abstract. So we need to pay some attention to designing the right title. So let me go directly into the importance. The title is important because it is read the first, it attracts people, it helps you identify. Search engines will find your paper. If you want people to cite your work, you will have to have the right title. Only then people will look and read into your work. Now, what are the components of a title? When you have a title, you need to have 3 points or 3 areas that you need to have in a title. What is the main area of interest, the subject area that you have chosen? What is the focus and what is the outcome of your study? All 3 can feature into a title. So I've just put it here, areas of interest, focus, and an outcome. For example, here you see a paper, Barriers to Internet Banking Adoption, a qualitative study among corporate customers in Thailand. The area of interest is internet banking. The focus of my study is on barriers. My outcome is about corporate customers in Thailand. Now, again, look at another title. My area of interest is corporate partnerships. The focus, I'm focusing on the problems. What are the outcomes? What are the lessons that I have learned? That is my outcome. Like this, I have some, for want of time, I'll just skip this. Now, how do you frame a title? You need to ask yourself certain questions. Okay. You first need to write one paragraph about your research. Now, suppose I'm talking to you and I ask you, tell me something about your research paper. You will give me a gist of your paper. So you write one paragraph about your research work, identify some keywords, put those keywords into one long sentence, make it into a title by removing redundant words. What are redundant words? Redundant words are a study on, factors influencing. This is a very common way in which our Indian research papers are written, especially a study on. We can try avoiding. These are all called redundant words. And then we can frame our title. Let me show you an example. So, write a small paragraph. This is based on a research paper that I had written. First, write a small paragraph which includes your objective, your methods, what method you used, and what was your result. One small paragraph. From this paragraph, you identify and list some keywords. Okay, and you form a phrase. So what I have done, my bigger paragraph, I made it slightly smaller. Now, from this small paragraph, I'm going to write one long sentence. This is an explorative research study to show that technological innovations strengthens the shopping experience of retail customers. So this is very long. You cannot have such a long title. So we remove some unnecessary words, and then I have an explorative research study on technological innovations that strengthens the shopping experience of retail. I've reduced the number of words. Again, extra words can be deleted. And I have finally come down to a suitable title, The Role of Technological Innovations in Strengthening Retail Customer Experience. Okay, so you can see how these 5 steps can help you to frame one title. Okay, you can add a subtitle if necessary. For example, you can say with reference to a particular area or something like that, you can give. Okay, so to summarize, write that big paragraph and identify keywords, put it into a long sentence, delete all unnecessary words, and you have your research title. You can have different kinds of titles. It can be very descriptive. Now, today, people are using very trendy titles. For example, declarative, by using a colon, technological innovations, strengthening the retail customer experience. You can even ask a question. The same title can be presented in a question manner. It can be interrogative. So different types of titles you can use. So when you frame your title, remember, it has to be concise, to only 15 to 20 words. Look at the journal guidelines. What is the journal telling you? Avoid abbreviations, slang, acronyms, avoid redundant words. These are just some examples of some titles that you can use. Going on to the next part of your manuscript. We have written our core part. We have framed the title. Now the abstract. If you see the abstract, we come to at the end. But in most cases, if you see most of our conferences, they tell us to send an abstract first. So if you send an abstract, remember that you must have completed your paper. Only then you can write your abstract. If you write your abstract before you start doing your research or before you start writing your manuscript, you could go wrong in your abstract. So always write an abstract after you have completed your manuscript. Your abstract can be 150 to 250 words. Again, please check the brochure or the journal to see how many words they want. Okay. Now here again, you need to just have one line to write your abstract. A background. What was the method you used? What was the result you found? And what is your conclusion? Okay, that's all has to be in an abstract. Now, here is a scaffolding to write your abstract. You may be running out of time to write your abstract. All you have to do is write two sentences in all of these points. Why did you do it? Why did you do this study? What is the significance? What did you do? What did you do? This could be your objective. How did you do it? So probably you collected data, you distributed to some 600 samples, you collected it, you did multiple regression analysis. What did you find? What were the major findings? You may have 3-4 findings, but what was your major finding? And what are its implications? Because you did this study, who's going to benefit from it? What is the benefit that comes out of your study? If you can write just two lines on each of this, you would have finished 150 to 200 words and your abstract is done. Okay. The reason why I'm teaching with a scaffolding is sometimes when we have a blank paper, it is very difficult for us to sit and write. But when you have these points, all you have to do is just write it and then compile it all together. When you do this for 1 or 2 papers, soon you will get a hang of how to write your research paper, and then you will become a pro. You will not need this anymore. You will be able to write on your own. Okay. So if you see here, this is how your abstract will look like. Just two lines. What is the context? What is the purpose? What method you used? What were your findings? Why is it important? Now, this is a paper that I had written with one of my colleagues. If you see, the abstract talks about the first few lines in red are an introduction. The blue lines there talk about the research problem. The green lines talk about, so the background, then the purpose, that is your objective. The green lines talk about the methods, that is how I did the study. Then what were my findings? So I did a structural equation model, and what was my finding? What did I find? And what are its implications? That's it. Your abstract is done. Now, in some journals, they will ask you to give a structured abstract. That means they will give you the side headings. You will have to put everything under the side headings. So my same paper, on the left side, you see as one abstract. The same thing on the right side, you find it as a structured abstract. Now, this is also called a graphical abstract. This is something new, especially people in sciences are using this a lot. Infographics is becoming the in thing today. So people are trying to put things in a graphical manner. And yeah, so that's it about abstracts. Coming to keywords, short summary. Let me quickly go through this. Don't use abbreviations. You can use methodology. Important words you can give in. Take some time to choose your keywords, because today, only with the help of keywords, people will be able to find your paper. So make sure you give the right keywords. So here I'm concluding different sections in a manuscript, section 1. Then we go on to section 3, where we make acknowledgements. I think in the first session, you heard about giving acknowledgements, writing about the authors in small paragraphs, giving a brief overview, and all that can be done. So just some tips here on what should be the length of your manuscript. So people could say, how long should my paper be? Like I told you, first check the journal or your brochure to see what should be the length of your manuscript, and accordingly you can make changes. Okay, this may not be ideal because it depends on which journal you are writing to. So always please check the journal or the brochure and look for the fine details, that is the number, the page count or the word count and all that. Now, what's so important is to format your manuscript. Once you're finished writing, if your manuscript has errors, you may have a great study, but if you have errors, it's of no use. So always check the word and character limits. Look for text alignment. Are they asking you to do a align left, or are they asking you to justify? Have you included everything? What are the language requirements? US or UK? English? The spellings that you're using, program, uh, program or mme. So US and English, UK English, you can't mix it up. For behavior, VIOUR or VIOR, which one are you using? Have you put in the tables in the correct places? Some journals will tell you to give all the tables in the annexure. Some will not say anything. Then in your results itself, you can put your tables. What referencing style have you used? There are different referencing styles, and referencing is a separate topic by itself. What file format have you given it in? Are you giving Word file, or what have they asked you? Do a spell check, grammar check, punctuation check. It has to be done. You can write a great paper, and if there are spelling mistakes, you can't say typo and all that. So there cannot be spelling mistakes. Check for your sentence structure. Do an overall formatting. Now you need to have your ideas all well organized in a manuscript. Sometimes what happens is 2-3 people join together and write a paper. So some will say, I'll write introduction, you write this part. What will happen is there will be 2 different styles of writing, whether you have addressed each other's issues. So you need to organize your ideas in a manuscript. And this argument matrix is very important when it comes to checking, especially when 2 or more people are writing a manuscript. If you're the only one writing, then no problem. But suppose you're writing a paper now, then it is lying for 2-3 months, and then after 3 months you take the paper again, you need to check. So what is this argument matrix? So suppose you have 3 objectives or 3 ideas in your research work. In your introduction, when you're writing your introduction, you will talk about objective 1, objective 2, and then objective 3. You should talk about these 3 issues or these 3 ideas in introduction. Then you go on to the methods section. In your methods section, you need to talk about idea 1, idea 2, and idea 3. What method do you use for each of these things? Now, when I say idea 1 or objective 1, it could be your problem statement, it could be your hypothesis, it could be your research question. Okay, so if you have only one question, one objective, one hypothesis, then it's not a problem. But if you have two, then you need to make sure there is this format. So you explain 1, 2, and 3. Then you go on to results. Your results should also be in the same order. In which order you spoke in your introduction chapter, the same order should be in your results. Then you write your results 1, 2, and 3. And the same way you go to your discussion chapter 1, 2, and 3. And then you go to your conclusion, address all 3 issues. Okay, so when you complete your paper, especially when 2 of you are writing or 2 or more of you are writing, please make sure that every idea is flowing throughout the paper, throughout the different sections of the paper. The entire ideas will have to flow. Okay, so complete your manuscript, select a journal, look at the aims and the scope of the journal, what is the author guidelines, what type of an article, submit your journal. There will be a peer review that takes place. The journal will give you your decision whether they're going to accept it or whether they will accept with revisions. You make revisions and then you submit. Thank you very much for listening. This is my number and my email ID. I'd be very happy to help you through your manuscript journey. And I would like to throw a challenge to you all. I've given you a scaffolding. If you have any research work, please put your research work into a manuscript. Put it down into a paper, which you can do. I finished it in 1 hour, given you just small paragraphs for you to write. If you can just sit and write, find the time to sit and write, I'm sure you'd be able to complete your manuscript. Do you have any questions for me? I'd love to answer questions.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Ma'am, I don't have any question, but it was indeed very resourceful. Thank you for such a deep insight.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hope that, it would be helpful for you all, as a beginner, for beginners. I mean, if you're someone who has written papers, this could probably sound very basic. But if you can learn this structure, if you could learn the paragraphs, it will really help you to quickly write a paper rather than staring at a blank sheet for a very long time. That's the idea.
Ma'am, I just have one question from you, like if I can ask with your permission.
Yeah.
Like I said that I'm from social sciences, I'm from law background, and most of our work is doctrinal in nature because, we are basically either we are analyzing some legislations or we are just looking into some cases, the guidelines that has been provided through the judgments. So it becomes very difficult for us actually to go into the statistical data collection.
Yeah.
So my basically, the hardships that we feel is that generally the index journals, they are looking forward for the empirical research. And when we are collecting the questionnaires directly through our sample, I don't know why but they are a little skeptical, that we have just question from the universe or study which is just nearby.
Yeah.
How can we actually make it more strong so that good index journals, Scopus, Web of Sciences, they can actually accept our papers?
Right. I'll answer your question in two ways. Firstly, especially since you said you're from law, having a very strong theoretical framework is really important for you. So once you establish, so your theoretical framework could be a case study or case that was proved, or that was a verdict that was given, or a law that has been established, or a policy that has been framed. Now this could be your theoretical foundation. Index papers look for a theoretical foundation. A theoretical framework is absolutely essential. And in a law paper, you would be able to find very, very strong theoretical foundations that you can give to your paper. So, having said that, addressing the issue of, um, uh, you know, quantifying something which is qualitative or collecting data, you could change the way your research question is. Your research question or your research objective, though your field is law, you could ask, you could do a study on the perspective of people. You can do an opinion based study on a law that is being brought out, or on a case law. So that will make it easier for you to collect data, because you have consumers, you have the public, you have the citizens you can collect data from, and it would be an opinion based study. So when it becomes an opinion based study, it is easy for you to use maybe Likert scale ratings and convert your qualitative data into something quantitative, and then use statistics which will be connected to your theoretical framework, and you have a complete paper that an index journal would look for. So, uh, uh, a study from giving perspective study or an opinion on a very strong theoretical foundation will help you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello, madam.
Yes, yes.
Madam, I am from humanities background. Madam, I suppose I select one title, that is tribal festival. So in this title, how can I relate the research methodology? If possible, please explain me, madam.
Okay, sir. So you have chosen tribal festivals. Now, what is it that you're going to study about tribal festivals? Are you going to study the different festivals that are there? Then it would be just a compilation of work, secondary data. You will just be compiling all your work together, which is like an assignment. But we are going to do research. So, what is your research question? Your context, your background is the tribal festivals. But what is the problem, or what is the issue that you want to do a research on? You need to identify that. And then, based on that problem, you frame a questionnaire, you conduct a survey, and then you collect data, and then you can tabulate it, and then you can work on it. You could, if it is about tribal study, tribal festivals, you could even trace, do a kind of a what were the variables, or the what goes into that particular festival, and you can do a study on those factors. What are all the components, or not components, I would say, what are all the factors that contribute to a particular tribal festival? Or is that, how do you sustain the practices? can it be taught in schools? How do we, this is actually a nice topic. So I'm just thinking about how do you sustain tribal festivals? Because today many of the old folklore and all that is being lost. People are not aware. And if you say tribal festivals, definitely many people do not know about. So how can you create an awareness about it? How can you continue it to generations? What can you do? What are the different ways in which you can do it? That can also be a study that you can do. So how can you project something that is forgotten or almost being forgotten to the entire world? You can look at it from that perspective.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Yes, are there any other questions?
Okay, participants, if they have any questions, you can ask.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I think everybody's quiet. I hope that you're listening, or it has been useful to you. Again, let me throw out my challenge to you all to start writing a paper. If you just look up for IMRAD, you will find the format available online. Start writing. Once you start writing, I'm sure you will. You can for a mimic, not copy, can mimic a paper. Like sir had asked about a paper about how to write, and even ma'am had asked in her field. So in your specific fields, for a beginner, or even to start, you can identify one paper in an index journal on the on a theme that you are interested in. So in from your discipline, identify one paper. And then I would suggest just simply rewrite that paper in the context of your study. See, they would have done that study based on some particular theory or some particular law, or in a different time period. All you need to do is just mimic that paper and keep writing. That's a simple way for you to start. Identify one paper and mimic that paper. I'm not saying copy, I'm saying mimic. Mimic would mean just see what they're writing in the first paragraph. You to write something like that. See what they're writing in the second paragraph. You write something like that. This is another easy way for you to develop a habit of writing manuscripts. I think with that, let me thank the management for giving me an opportunity to share with you. And I wish all of you God's best for you as you continue on your research journey. Thank you very much, sir.